Ladies, gentlemen, and Kira. The shuffling feet on the stairs. It's about a tenement house. They're gone from Dublin now, thank God, but they were very plentiful here in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and into the 60s. Well, this is about one particular tenement house. In a tenement house in an old city street, in squalor and grime, but content, that was marbles a week when the landlord came round to collect a few shillings of rent, lived a half-dozen families and maybe more, with a tap on each landing supplying their needs, and the door knocker pinched from the door. They were all friends in need when our trouble came round, but between times they might have their fights, and they borrowed and pawned for the rest of the week for a holy on Saturday night. 'Twas a communal life, with no secrets to hide, and all knew each other's affairs, with one big exception, the man that they called the shuffling feet on the stairs. No one knew where he came from, none knew his name. He lived in the attic above. There were those who had met him and bid him good day, but these he brushed past with a shove. These people would tell you that the fellow was old, but dark brown and powerfully built, that he walked with a limp, with his eyes on the ground, like a man with a great load of guilt. But most of the tenants never saw him at all, for he rarely went out until night. And sometimes at midnight you'd hear him come home, and sometimes at dawn's early light. But sometimes 'twas early and he coming home with the families all at their prayers, and the children would cry in their fright when they heard the shuffling feet on the stairs. And the whole house would listen with tension and fear as he dragged up the steps to his room, while his clumping and dragging and shuffling step made them feel they were waiting for doom. And sometimes he'd switch on the light in his room and he'd give out a terrible roar. Then he'd mumble a while and they'd hear him go in, and they'd hear the key turn in his door. And those who lived under would tell that for hours the man would be walking the floor, with his shuffling step up and down the old boards, and again he would roar. There were notes to the landlord to have him put out, for the people were all now afraid. But the landlord replied that he would not evict the one man whose rent was full paid. Well, the tension was growing and people were going till one night there was no sound at all. No fumbling key in the door of the house, no shuffling step in the hall. The silence was eerie and people were weary, counting sheep in their pairs, but they couldn't find sleep as they listened in vain for the shuffling feet on the stairs. That night and the next, there was no sound at all. They should have been glad it had ceased. But there's no peace for tenement dwellers who feel that a neighbour's in trouble uneased, so they sent for the guards, and they broke in his room. The old man lay there on his bed, with the picture before him, his hands joined in prayer, a smile on his face, and he dead. Then the story came out, how this man had been rich, with a mansion and servants and all, and of how he'd been driving a motor one night, and they coming home from a ball. He had too much to drink, but he didn't much care. At driving he felt he was skilled. Then the car had a crash, and he injured his leg, but his lovely young wife, she was killed. He had drunk to forget till he spent all his fortune. He had drunk to forget all his tears. And from mansion to tenement, from riches to poverty, this was the path of his years. And he who had once been a great public man and an expert on world affairs had sunk to the point where the one name he had was the shuffling feet on the stairs. 'Twas a Thursday that took him below to the church, with the neighbours all gathered around. As they carried the coffin below to the landing, my old ears detected a sound. It was not the sound of the women all crying. It was not the sound of their prayers. The sound that I heard as they bore him away was the shuffling feet on the stairs. Thanks everybody, thanks very much. Thank you very much indeed. God bless.